Hello and welcome to this review for The End of the Matter by Alan Dean Foster, which is the third in the Pip and Flink series, which begins with the Tar-Aim Krang, continues on to Orphan Star, and concludes with this one. Beautiful Tim White covers, love them absolutely. Pip and Flink series is a trilogy from my childhood that I adored. On reread, I adored it as much. I enjoyed the writing as much as I remembered it. I think it was as good and possibly even better. Now, the Pip and Flink series, according to the internet, which wasn't available to me when I first read it, has 15 primary works or 16 in total. And there's a book 2 in there, which is Blood Hype, which I own but haven't yet read. So I may read that. Anyhow, I finished this book a couple of days before you're watching this video. The month is swiftly running out and I may not be able to continue straight on with Alan Dean Foster. But The End of the Matter was a spectacular book and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it is science fiction in its purest form, in that it is wonderful fiction set in Foster's Humananx universe, which has a commonwealth consisting of humans from their homeworld of the Earth and the Thranks from their homeworld of Hivehome. And this one has a number of sciences. So the novel itself takes place quite soon after Orphan Star concludes. And this is probably a point where if you're just about to read this trilogy, which I thoroughly recommend, great science fiction, great classic science fiction, if you're about to read it, this might not be the moment to watch this review because I'm not going to watch what I say. I don't think I'm going to spoiler it hugely. I don't think you can really spoil these books by telling you what happens. But if you're just about to start them, probably go away and come back to this review when you've finished reading them. So in the Tar-Aim Krang, Flinks goes off world. He encounters this amazing possible weapon, possible music instrument, possibly telepathy increase amplifier, the Tar-Aim, which was made by a vanished race called the Krang. In this book, he meets two characters, Trezenzuzex, who is Thranks, and Branson Mallory, who is a human, and great adventures, which carry him on into Orphan Star, where those skills take him on this huge search for his parents, because Flinks was bought from the slave market as Philip Links when he was 5 or 6 years old. He's grown up into his own person and he is not a slave, he's independent, very independent, and an interesting and enjoyable character to read about, but he knows nothing about his parents. In this second book, he goes off looking for those parents after a chance remark by a side character. And at the conclusion of that book, he has actually traced his mother's family to a certain extent, but he still knows nothing about his father, except that his biological father was not the man to which his mother was married. Okay, so the End of the Matter starts on him tracing his father, but that is very much secondary to the main plot. At the end of Orphan Star, Philip Links Flinks has contracted with yet another Thranks called Silzenzuzex to help educate and inform a race of very strongly telepathic, very intelligent mammals on a planet that's under interdict by the Commonwealth Church. So basically he's doing it in secret on this planet which no one is meant to approach. At the beginning of The End of the Matter, we find our way back to Moth, the wonderful planet on which the city of Drala exists, where Flinks grew up in this wonderfully described city. It is so lush, I want to catch a plane and visit there. Well done, Alan Dean Foster, on the world building, which is spectacular. At the beginning of this, Flinks has come back to this home planet of Moth and he's there to catch up with the woman who reared him in the marketplace, Mother Mastiff, but he's also curious about his father. Now, at this beginning of this story, it's recommended to him that maybe he should search through the records that the slavers might possess who first bought him, from whom he was first bought. And he manages to get just a little bit of information from them, just these scarrocks of suggestion that at the market someone else was bidding on him as well, and it was a man. And in a cute plot twist, the man had an Alaspan dragon with him, which of course is Pip. That's Flinx's familiar, incredibly venomous, telepathic, or at least empathic reptilian sidekick. I loved Flinx. I grew up wanting it. I loved Pip. I grew up wanting a Pip of my own. Anyhow, so in the course of Flinx trying to find out as much as he can about this man who is bidding on him, he comes across the Quam. The Quam are a clan of hereditary assassins, and they seem to be following Flinx, and he doesn't know why. He's also picked up this very odd creature of a species that he doesn't recognize. Instead of bilateral like us, it's quadrilateral, so it's got 4 of everything, not just 2 eyes, but 4 eyes, not just 2 arms, but 4 arms. And it constantly rhymes in at least 1 language. And its name is Ab. One of the few things it says that makes sense is actually its name, which is a long one. Anyway, Flinx and Pip and Ab end up going searching for this character that was apparently bidding on Philip Lynx in the marketplace. In order to do that, they go to Alaspan, which is the native planet that Pip comes from. And it's a great planet. And Alan Dean Foster obviously had a vast fondness for archaeology and paleontology. On the planet of Alaspan, we find out that there were temples and archaeology everywhere, and that the original species who lived there, the intelligent population, is gone. There's only these slightly reptilian, but definitely green, natives that can be aggressive, and they are indeed aggressive at Flinx and a friend of his when they are traveling into the jungle. There's a couple of really different and innovative parts of this story that mean that Alan Dean Foster is doing some things that he hasn't done the 2 previous ones. For a start, with Pip being a little bit of almost a Deus Ex Machina for Flinx, because Flinx can get into terrible, terrible situations, but the Alaskan dragon is incredibly venomous and it gets him out of them, even when he seems to be in a dead end. So in the second book, An Orphan Star, Alan Dean Foster finds a way to separate the 2 of them to get Flinx into an awkward situation, so there's that bit of extra tension that wouldn't otherwise be there. In the end of the matter, he does something similar, only because they're on Alaspan, Pip takes off on a voyage of its own discovery in the jungle with the familiar Alaskan dragon of another character. So for a while there, Flinx doesn't know if he'll ever see Pip again, and he misses his pet desperately, but he's trying to reconcile himself to the fact that it is essentially a wild animal and it can choose to accompany him or not. In this, I'm going to say that Alan Dean Foster was way ahead of his time, because this was written, or at least it was first published in the mid-70s, late 70s, 1977. At which time, the attitude that an animal has its own inner life and that a wild animal should be left in the wild, or at least be given the opportunity to share its life with a human if it wants to, but to go back if it doesn't, that was way ahead of its time, so well done, Alan Dean Foster. Okay, we've got the archaeologies, we've got the exploring an abandoned world, we've got temples full of treasures, we've got all the things that made Indiana Jones as much fun as it was, and we've got some wild zoology as well. We've got the thriller of these hereditary assassins chasing Flinx around the world trying to kill him. And Flinks is really creeped out by the fact that he keeps finding the Quam dead. And something has killed up to 7 of them at a time. That wasn't him. Creeped out by it, but he keeps going on his way. Anyway, he does eventually find this character, this enormous guy with white hair and a gold earring that he was looking for. The person's name is Skua September, and he's a great character. Now, I know that Alan Dean Foster has used him in other series. I even read one of those books once upon a time. I'd like to read more. But Skua September has been hired as muscle for a character who is a archaeologist, Isili Lamborga. He calls her Silly Bog, which is a little bit meh. But what is that name? Isili. Well, I remember the Isili. I don't remember her surname. And they're excavating this temple. A lot of what they're calling Aborigines, or the natives of the land, attack them. And they don't really know why, but Flinks and his companion seem to have stirred them up. And all 4 individuals retreat into the temple. And in this case, they are rescued by the unexpected reemergence of 2 characters from the first book, Bran Sir Mallory and Truzenzu Zex. The 2 of them make an excellent dynamic duo. They used to be ship brothers in a war, and now they're very old and they're traveling around the galaxy. In this particular case, the overarching story of this novel is the fact that you've got a huge collapsar approaching the galaxy, and in its path are 3 planets full of people which aren't going to be able to be evacuated before this collapsar comes through and turns them into nothing. Now, Bran Sir Mallory and Truzenzu Zex have got wind of some remote mythological chance that there may have been some sort of weapon or protection from a vanished race that might help them with the collapsar. And that ties in with the Taraim Krang, the very first in this series, because the Taraim, which was made by the Krang, was meant to be the weapon to protect them against this other species that made this weapon, protection, we don't know, that will defend the galaxy from the collapsar. Now, of course, as throughout this whole trilogy, we've got the hereditary, ancestral, devoted, antagonists of the Humananx Commonwealth, which is the the reptilian race who are trying to take them down. They want to get their hands on the weapon first. They don't want to stop the collapsar. They're perfectly cool with 3 worlds vanishing from Humananx space. So you've got that, and you've got the Quam, and you've got Ab, this mysterious character. How does he fit in? Well, when Truzenzu Zex and Bran Sir Mallory get their hands on him, they hypothesize that all his nonsense rhyme is because he's actually speaking dozens, if not hundreds, of languages at once, trying to get meaning across. But Ab, through analysis, ends up sending them in the direction of a star system where his makers probably existed, and that takes it in the end toward the collapsar. So that's where you get the astronomy and you get the physics. So this book is chock-a-block full of the sciences, quite a few of the sciences, and it's a thoroughly enjoyable read. I entirely recommend this trilogy. The Philip Flinks and Pip and Flinks trilogy, or more. So some internets will claim that the end of the matter is number 4. Some will claim that it's number 3. Some will claim that it keeps going. I don't know. I knew these as a trilogy. I have reread them as a trilogy. I thoroughly enjoyed them. So thanks for watching. One of these days I'm going to do a bit of a book haul because I've been buying way too many books this month, but it's kind of made me happy. And pretty soon, if not imminently, I am looking forward to the buddy read that I'm going to be doing with Chris from Liminal Spaces of, right here, Picnic at Hanging Rock, a very classic, slightly spooky Australian novel. So thanks for watching. Read good books, maybe even Picnic at Hanging Rock, while me and Chris are going to be doing it. See ya!